Sometimes, breath life pushes you down in ways you cannot predict. It happens quietly, slowly, or all at once. And even the strongest leaders, the bravest dreamers, the people who seem unbreakable, also need time to step back and breathe. This is not weakness. This is being human. Jack Ma knew this truth deeply. One day he was standing on the world stage, shining bright, and another day he disappeared into silence. People watched the news, people asked questions, people wondered, where did he go? Why is he quiet? What is happening behind the scenes? Today, we walk through Jack Ma's long and quiet season, from his rise to his silence, to his gentle return. And together, we will discover one powerful truth. Even giants rest before they rise again. And maybe this truth has something meaningful for your life too. Before the silence, Jack Ma was everywhere. He stood on global stages, energizing young people with his sharp humor, his simple wisdom, and his strong belief that anyone, absolutely anyone, could rise. He shared stories of his failures. He talked about the 30 times he was rejected from jobs. He laughed about not being hired by KFC. He encouraged millions to try again, no matter how hard the road seemed. Alibaba was growing. Ant Group was preparing for one of the biggest IPOs in history. The world looked at Jack Ma as a symbol of China's new digital future. He spoke confidently. He smiled easily. He believed strongly in innovation, freedom, and possibility. But around 2020, everything changed. After giving a bold speech about financial regulations, everything moved fast. The Ant Group IPO stopped. Regulations tightened. The mood around tech companies shifted, and Jack Ma, the man who had always spoken loudly, became suddenly silent. He stepped away from the spotlight, as if he had pressed the pause button on his own life. No speeches, no interviews, no public presence, just quiet, a long, deep quiet. For someone who lived so publicly, this silence felt shocking. But later, we learned something important. Silence was not his end. Silence was his beginning. Sometimes life removes your stage so you can hear your own heart again. During his quiet years, Jack Ma didn't run back to the spotlight. He didn't force a comeback. He didn't complain publicly or fight loudly. Instead, he stepped into a slower world, a quieter world, a world where he could breathe again. He traveled to different countries. He visited farms and villages. He met students, listened to young people, and encouraged them quietly instead of on big stages. He looked at life more slowly than before. He studied agriculture, food systems, science programs, and technology for small communities. He watched ordinary people's daily struggles far from microphones and cameras. And for the first time in many years, he was not Jack Ma the celebrity. He was Jack, the human. A man with fears, a man with worries, a man with memories, a man with questions about the future. He once said, "When you have hope, you have everything." But hope isn't always born in bright places. Sometimes hope grows best in dark soil, in lonely nights, in mornings when the world feels heavy, and you are not sure what comes next. His quiet season was not failure. It was preparation. Preparation for a new kind of life. Preparation for a new kind of strength. Preparation for a new kind of future. Maybe you are also in such a season. Maybe you feel slow right now. Maybe things feel uncertain. Maybe you are between chapters of your own story. But slow is not wrong. Slow is where strength grows. Slow is where the next version of you is being built. Jack Ma's silence taught him things he could not learn on any stage, and your quiet seasons may be teaching you more than you realize. Recently, Jack Ma began to appear again, not in big ways, not in loud ways, not with huge announcements, but softly, like the early morning sun. He joined private meetings. He met with business leaders quietly. He visited schools and talked with students about courage in a changing world. He encouraged them to think differently, to stay curious, to stay brave, and to stay hopeful. He also explored new fields: AI, modern farming, global education, and youth innovation. His focus shifted from building giant companies to building future thinkers, future creators, future problem solvers. And when he smiled, his smile looked different, calmer, more thoughtful, more peaceful. It was the smile of a man who had walked through pressure, who had lived through silence, and who had learned deep lessons. A comeback does not need noise. A comeback does not need applause. A comeback does not need the world to understand. A comeback needs courage. A comeback needs patience. A comeback needs trust. In the process, in the future, and in yourself. Jack Ma's story shows that a pause is not the end. A pause is a bridge. A slow, steady bridge to the next chapter of your life. And when he finally returned, he returned with belief in young people, in change, in second chances, and in the quiet power of starting again. If today you feel lost, remember Jack Ma's journey. Remember his rise. Remember his silence. Remember his long, quiet days. Remember the pressure he faced when the world wasn't watching. Remember that even the strongest leaders step back to breathe. Remember that disappearing for a while is sometimes the best way to discover yourself again. Your life is not finished. Your story is not over. Your pause is not your end. Your comeback starts now. You may rise slowly. You may rise quietly. You may rise with small steps instead of big ones. But you will rise. With wisdom, with calm, with clarity, and with renewed strength. Even giants rest before they rise again, and so will you. Just keep going. Before we finish, let's look at a few simple words that can guide your journey too. Resilience, the strength to keep going after something difficult. Jack Ma showed resilience during his quiet years. Adapt to change the way you act when life changes. Jack Ma adapted by learning from a slower life. Hope the feeling that good things can happen. Hope helped Jack Ma rise again. Our lives are paths we shape with our own choices. So keep going with strength today, and I'll see you again next time. Together, we'll keep growing in English and in life.